Hello everyone and welcome back to Painting with Martin. We're back with another painting video for Catapult Feud Vikings expansion published by Vesuvius Media, and they were kind enough to give me this game at Essen Spiel last year. So thank you very much to Vesuvius Game for this opportunity for me to actually paint these figures. They've been long in waiting for actually to paint these ones, so sorry about that, but I had a lot of other things to do. So today we are not taking a look at these ones which we painted a couple of days ago, the Valkyries. Instead, we're taking a look at the male version of these ones. Look like bad and brawling. You can see the ship here. You can also see the ship here inside the box. I'm not going to go through how to play the game, but if you were really interested in this one, check out the link in the description for Vesuvius Media and how to get your copy of this one to expand your Catapult Feud adventure. So with this one, I'm just going to show the box again. This is going to be the main idea, what we're looking at, and I'm going to show you now how the miniatures look like. Putting the box aside, and then this is what the figure looks straight out of the box, all blue. Now, not a good representation of what a Viking really looks like, so after priming in white, with the Vallejo primer in white, this is what it looks like. Looks quite nicer. And we're going to make sure that he gets some colour on him, so to say. So the thing is, what we're going to start with is we're going to start with his cape, and his cape is all red. So let's do that. And we're using mostly colours from Citadel in this video. There's going to be a few Vallejo, but very few. And for this one, we're using a contrast colour called Contrast Bale Red. We're going to use mostly contrast colours for this video today. If you don't have them, I can recommend that you get them. They're really awesome. Otherwise, Mephiston Red or maybe even Corn Red from Citadel would work quite well as well. So, see here where we had our paintbrush. We were supposed to have it somewhere. We can also use a new one. That's also fine. In this case, we have the Winsor Newton Cotman Series size 2 brush, which we are damping up a little bit. Make sure that it's all nice and good for this one. So in this case, very easy. Put it in and apply it neat as such. You may need 2 or 3 layers of this paint, taking great care not to touch any of the other areas if you can. Painting upwards in this manner. And contrast paints are great for this instance because they allow you to skip the wash stage of the miniature. Here I'm getting closer to the edge. And I'm also painting the edge here as well underneath, as you see here. And you can already see that it's looking much better compared to the regular white or even the blue. Here I'm painting the edge as well. And as such, now we also have the frontal part here. And here I'm taking care not to touch his beard, if possible, and his face. If you make mistakes with this one, you can fix it afterwards, but try not to, as well as the other side. A little bit of white there showing. And the other side, back side of the, or the front side, whatever you want to call it. Don't forget the underside as well. You might need to angle the miniature as such to reach. And don't forget you also have this side as well. It's very easy to miss. As well as the side here. All right, and it's looking quite okay already. You might need another cover here as well. Make sure that it has a nice and even coverage, and none of the white is actually showing through. And so putting another small layer here on top of it. And touching up some mistakes here I made as well, making sure it has nice and even coverage. Okay, so cleaning my brush as well, fresh pot of water. Now it's ready for the next step. And the next step is of course going to be his tunic. And for his tunic I've chosen a little bit of an different kind of color here. I'm choosing Ultramarines Blue contrast paint for his tunic. And it's a little bit tricky to paint the tunic. I'm going to show you how to. So I'm holding it by the axe here. And then I'm starting with the lower part of the tunic. And clean strokes like this. And you might want to have quite a lot of paint on the brush for this one, because it's quite, the white color underneath makes it a bit tricky to make sure that you have nice and even coverage. Taking care not to hit the belts. Okay, once you've done this one, you go to the next one. Make sure you don't hit the sides here and here, because they are not part of the blue part, as well as try not to hit the belt. So now you're painting around the belt, starting with the lower sections and moving up towards the upper sections. That means you've taken care of the most difficult part yet. And using a stickling motion up here, painting around these kind of like bolts, around them up here. Underneath the beard, which is very important that you don't touch. If you touch the bolts here of like armor, that's not a problem. We can fix that easily later on. But if you can avoid it, that's also nice. Might need some more. This one probably requires 2 layers to get the cover of paints that is desired. Here I'm angling the miniature and using my brush to push it in to make sure that it's covered. And of course you can use this color to paint underneath his underpants if you want, with this color too. Not necessary if you don't want to. You can also leave it white if you prefer that as well. Here I'm showing you how to do it. Can be a bit tricky to get to, so you have to angle the miniature and hold it by the base. As such. Okay, looking quite okay already. For the next stage, we are going to simply leave this one to dry, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's all finished. This is what it looks like when it's all done, like this. perfectly fine. Let's see if we can angle this like this. And like this, hopefully it will be fine. Like this. All right. Hopefully you could see the video before that. Now, for the next stage, we're going to paint the skin and the skin tone. Now, for the skin tone, quite easy. We're going to use another contrast color. And the contrast color is going to be a color called Dark Oath Flesh from Citadel. Giving it a good shake and painting across the entire skin. Using the same brush. It's an easy process because here the skin details are very open and showing. He has really big arms, so a lot of area to cover. And here it's important not to let it pool on the surface areas, but simply to let it pool in the recesses instead. So all those nice big muscles can be shown off. Here I'm taking care not to cover his like bracelets. That's one. Let's go over his facial features, which is a little bit tricky because he has his nose, of course. I'm painting the eyes around it, as also the eyebrows. But then there's this light difference where also his ears over here. Where does his like facial hair, moustache and all that begin and end? It's not all clear cut from the card art. So here I'm also painting around the mouth, which I'm going to cover later on as well. And here he also has some skin on the side here. But the back here is he does not. That's where his helmet is. So moving on to his other kind of like arm here. Very easy. You cover it as such. Don't forget his fingers and fist. Can be a bit tricky to get to all the details underneath. With a little bit of practice you can easily do it. Nice. Now his legs also, don't forget those. He has boots on, so we're going to cover those in just the next stage. But it's good to get the his legs actually showing. As you can see here, I didn't for this one here actually cover the underpants section, so they're all white. You can cover them later in blue or any kind, like even pink if you want to. As such, all done. Now let's go over and cover his boots. This is also going to be another color. His boots is going to be, let's see here, yep, snakebite leather from Citadel. Oops, I jumped away. I caught it thankfully, and it wasn't open. That would have been a disaster. Here, paint the boots. If you get color on the base, no problem. You can fix that later on if you like. looking quite okay already. All right, there you have it for the stage. Now, we also need some color on his axe handle and the axe itself. For the axe handle, I'm using something called Contrast Wildwood, also from Citadel, of course. Oops, it was closed. Up like this, and the other side. Don't worry if you get it on the axe blade itself. We are going to fix it in the next stage. All right, next one. Next up for the next stage. Next stage is quite easy as well. We're going to paint the axe blade. And for the axe blade, we are going to use some lead belcher from Citadel. I say Citadel in case I change my mind and go for a Vallejo color, just for you to know. I'm using this one neat. And the other side. As such, and don't forget the blade itself, the edge, and the edge underneath. And with this one, you can also start painting the helmet itself. Okay, I'm going to put this one down, put some paint on it. For the paint helmet itself, you're using, here I've used some of it on the skin, which was mistaken. You can paint it over here. This is the helmet. And you can also paint the back of the helmet up here, taking care not to hit the red areas. So there you go. All right, I'm going to leave this one aside. Make sure everything's dried. And fortunately, I have already pre-painted everything we've done so far, and it's dried, and it looks like this. The X handle things, and we have still some things to do that are very important, namely his hair and mustache. We're going to put this aside for a moment, and then we are going to actually paint the hair right now. And for the hair, we have a few options. Normally, you would go for a contrast color or something that is a little bit very dark, so very, very light, such as the Valkyrie's hair, which was Badman yellow, but I'm going to go for Yanden yellow instead, which has more of a golden tone to it. I'm going to give it a good shake. I don't know how it's going to pan out, but we'll see. So we'll stay with this one, and we're going to paint his golden hair just like this. Ah yes, it's perfect color for this one. And he does actually have some locks of hair around it, leaving the whole white or mouth open as well. So looking a little bit better. With this one, we're also going to go up and paint his horns, and then we're going to do the wings as well. A little bit tricky to get to. For the horns, I'm using a color called, where was it? See here, this one is available. Maybe it wasn't. You can use Screaming Skull. You can also use a Chapeau Bone if you want to. Chapeau Bone might be a nice option. So a Chapeau Bone from Citadel. Only covering the horns here, of course, with this color. This is not a what do you call it? This is not a tongue-tied contrast color. Hopefully you can see that. Didn't go off camera, I guess. So that's that. And for the wings, I have a kind of like translucent color, and they're kind of like white, but they're not white already. So a little bit undecided what to do for these ones. But I'm going to opt for a very bold move. And that is a contrast color called Contrast Athematic Blue, which is something I normally use for windows. Not sure how it's going to pan out with these ones, because it's a very difficult paint to use in general. I'm going to put them out over here, but I'm going to make sure that it's going to paint it very lightly so it doesn't pool. Something like this, right? And then we have some obvious parts left. We need to make sure the blue and the red, because now we're in the highlight stage, needs to fix. And we're going to start by applying some highlights to the blue, which is some Macrich blue from Citadel. And this is something that is going to bring out the miniature, I believe, in a nice way. You could dry brush it if you want to, but in this case I'm not going to do that, because that might touch up some of the areas that I've already painted. So I'm going to paint around this area. I'm going to keep it in a fairly dark blue tone as per the card art. Painting around the areas we previously covered, especially the beard, as well as the under tunic here, and it will blend this one together in a nice way. Not covering this area here where there are some stitches, leaving the contrast cover in there as it is. We might want to come back to this one as well in a bit, but it's looking a little bit better. Now, there's still too much white on it, but I still don't want to cover, since I just painted the white, this is still painted the blue, I don't want to cover any blue parts yet. I will give it an opportunity to dry first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the gold parts. The gold part is going to be quite easy. I'm going to go and take it with some Retributor armor from Citadel. And now we're covering his bracelets. Got a little bit too much paint on my brush. And there's these details that really brings a figure out to life, in my opinion. That's the fun part of painting. Not just the base paints, but like, you know, these nice details. Because you covered it in white before, or I did at least, as a primer, all the bolts underneath the golden paint are showing perfectly and beautifully. Gonna zoom in a bit so you can know, as you can see. So you can see here, the bolt here on the upper arm shows really nicely. Here it's a bit important to get it all right. So all done there. And this one here, you can also touch up some golden, kind of like how to hold his beard together. Not necessarily very needed, but quite nice anyways. Leaving everything else to dry as well is a good idea. We are going to cover his axe handle, and for this one I'm chosen to use some XV88 to give it a lighter look as per the card art, or the box art I should say. Here I'm painting the upper part and then leaving the shading in the recesses here. Just so then it can have a multicolored look as well. Quite nice. And the upper part where the sun shines. Okay, quite nice. And for the blade, I'm using some Storm Host silver for the blade, as well as also the helmet. And for the blade, I'm also only using it for the tip of the blade here. As per the box art. No, I said it, box art. Up here, like this. I'm not using it on the back. Alright, I'm going to come back to the metal parts in a bit, but I want to give the opportunity to actually have everything dried first. Now, we need to put some paint on the belt buckle, the bolts here, and the sides here. And for this, let's start this one, and let's put some Celestra Grey on the sides here, the collars. That's one. That's two. Touching up the other one a little bit. Don't forget the inner sides here. The lower section as well. A little bit too little color. If you want to, you can mix in a little bit of white if you think it's too dark. As such, touching this one up one more time. Looking much better already. But we're not good with much better. We want to make sure it looks much better besides that. For the belt, I'm going to use a brown color. Let's see which brown color I will opt for. If you have, you can use Mornfing Brown. It's a little bit hard to see in the card art for this, but in my opinion, he has a brown belt. It's just slightly showing on it. Painting around, not taking care not to hit some areas here where it stands out. And also not hitting the blue. Like this. For the raised sections, we use going back to another brown, make sure that it has a little bit of contrast. We're using Fondia brown for this one. For the raised areas. You can paint it with the original Mornfing Brown as well if you want to. Alright, as such. And then for the belt buckle, and now also the bolts, it's time for some lead belcher. And that's the belt buckle. Move these aside a little bit. And now it's here, it can be a bit tricky to get all of them to work. You want to make sure that there's no white showing underneath. Upper parts. I'm going to return to these ones in a bit, and here you can touch up a little bit of the axe if you have too much on the blade, on the edge, as I do here. Alright, and a little bit on the belt buckle here. Alright, as such, now we're going to turn our attention to the skin. And for the skin, we're using the same approach as we had for the Valkyries. We're going to apply some Cadian flesh tone. That was the Cadian flesh tone. Cadian flesh tone on the raised areas of the muscles, making sure that we have some of the muscles showing underneath so we can see all these lines. his face, the nose, the ears. Come over to his other muscles here, his arms. Also an excellent opportunity to cover up mistakes that we've made in the past. As such, and we can also do some of the legs if we want to. You can also leave them as they are, but I prefer to make sure that it also looks quite nice. Okay, and ears as such. Then we've got the red cape, leaving this one to dry. The red cape, we are going to use a dry brush of some Mephiston red, because it's still quite dark. And let's see here, the Mephiston red was, let's see, our dry brush. An old brush is used for this. Take some paint on your brush, wipe it off on a piece of kitchen towel until you have very little remaining. And using in a dabbling motion around like this, blending it together. Don't forget the back side here. Now, for some extra highlights on the red, we can take some pure Mephiston red and touch up some mistakes we made here. You can touch up these ones, painting only the raised areas. And you can use a little bit of, if you want to, some Wild Rider red, or Evil Sun Scarlet would also work perfectly fine. For a very small touch of highlights. Just painting the raised areas, only the top. Can also do this one to paint the edges here. All right, looking quite okay with this one. I'm quite pleased with it. Now, going back to our original stone, lead belcher from the bolts. Let's cover them with some Stormhouse silver to give them a nice look. Leaving some of the edges with the original color, as well as the belt buckle as well, as such. Now, let's also make some corrections with the Macridge blue that we used for the blue tunic, and making sure we actually have it all correct around it and none of the metallics showing. as such. Also on the side, in any areas we may have made a mistake. All right, looking quite okay. Now for the skin, moving these ones aside, I prefer a lighter skin tone for the Viking, because as per the card art only, nothing else. So give it a good shake. Off camera I'm doing this, and apply a small highlight of Kistler flesh on the skin. You can also mix in a little bit of white if you want it much lighter. The nose, and the biceps here, as well as the knuckles, going back, by keeping the original dark oath flesh in the recesses. You created some nice showing of the muscles. As shown over here, as well as on the side here. You can do it even more, giving it another coat if you like. And for the legs, a little bit more. And now we come to the hardest part of this one. Yeah, we need to do some corrections for not the hardest part. We are using some some Nuln Oil for the horns. Make sure that they are simply showing a little bit more. As such, like this. And if you think that you've got too bright silver, you can also touch this one up with a little bit of Nuln Oil, giving it a bit of a metallic shine, as I do here. Okay, you can also do that for, if you want to, for the trim of the tunic. Entirely optional, just one stroke with a brush. Now, for the mouth and the eyes, you can leave the eyes as you want, if you want, as they are, if you want. Since you're like me, I'm very bad at painting eyes, and it's not going to show that much on the card art. I'm going to try and give it a go. Now, for the mouth, it's clear that it's like red inside. Red is a very dominant color, so I'm going to use a tongue like Screamer Pink instead, that I used for the original Valkyrie, and it turned out to be quite okay, in my opinion. If you like what you see, just subscribe to the channel if you like. That would be really nice. Giving a dab in here, like this. As such. And then for the teeth would be nice. We can do some colouring. We also missed a little bit part here for his beard up here. correcting that right now. And for the teeth, I'm using some pure white, this time from Vallejo. Keep that in mind. You can use some regular white from Citral if you like. Their white is still pretty good. In this case, I'm using a much smaller brush for this one to make sure I don't make mistakes. And I'm going to try for the eyes as well. Turned out to be quite okay, surprisingly. And for the boots, which we all almost forgot, use some XV88. To get it a nice tone. Backside a port as well. As we wait for that to dry, we can also apply some color to the gold, which is going to be some Liberator gold. You can always also use Auric Armor gold if you want to, for a nice highlight. And don't forget this one small for the beard as well. I'm keeping the beard as it is, actually. I like it. I also want the entire the eyes to be completely dry. I'm also going to use this as an opportunity to paint the base. And for this one, I'm going to use, let's see where they are. Looking for, yeah, Contrast Wildwood for the base. And it's because I think he's standing on some kind of like deck planks or something like that, like boat planks. Good opportunity to fix this. A little bit more is needed. Apply it quite liberally and soak the base with it. You can really see the art of the decks, art of the base coming through. Good job to Vesuvius Media for these beautiful miniatures. Almost done. One final step left, and that's the pupil of the eyes. For the pupil of the eyes, I'm using Vallejo's black. You can use Abaddon black as well as an alternative. You just don't have it home. I'm using the tiniest brush I can possibly find, which is a Da Vinci Micro Nova brush, just to get it right. See if I can get it right. 1, 2. Almost right. A little bit more. All right. Not perfect, but still quite okay. And there you have it. The Viking male warrior from Vesuvius Media's Catapult Feud Viking expansion. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, give it a like and a comment, share the video if you like, and stay tuned for more updates. And I'll see you next time, whether it's a painting a video or it's reviewing a game that I like. Thank you very much for watching.